Hi guys! Welcome to me embarrassing myself on camera to be watched at in front of the entire class. So today I'm going to be talking about the JFK Conspiracy. So as we all know, on November 22nd of 1963, the President John F. Kennedy was assassinated by a man named Lee Harvey Oswald, who shot him from the 6th floor in the school book depository in Dallas, Texas during the motorcade. The police reports say that John F. Kennedy was shot twice in the back of the head and was pronounced dead at the Dallas hospital. But that's not actually the truth. The first thing that tells us that there might have been something kind of wrong, something that wasn't going right, was the security. Usually, Secret Service is supposed to be patrolling the streets. They would have had all the windows closed. They wouldn't let anybody be carrying anything, because it's just not safe. They're supposed to be taking care of the president, and they obviously were not doing that. Secret Service usually rides on the back of the president's car, but they need to come off and walk on the sides along them to kind of protect them when the car is supposed to reach under 40 miles per hour. When that happened, they didn't because they were told not to. They were given orders not to actually do that. There was also a military group who was gonna be called in Texas to just be there, make sure everything was more safe, more secure for the president, but they were told they weren't needed and didn't come, which they probably should have. Things may have been different. So the first issue is Kennedy's head. When he's shot, you can see his head. It kind of goes back to the left. You can see him when he gets shot, his head moves like this. That would mean that he is getting shot from the front. Right? Logic, it would bring your head back left. In the video, you can see his head move back left. And he wouldn't have moved like that if he was shot from the back where Lee Harvey Oswald was. At the front right, which is where he was obviously shot from, was this grassy knoll. Now, this grassy knoll is actually really important because this is actually where the true assassinator of JFK actually was. Witnesses all said that they heard the shot come from the grassy knoll. And actually later, 2 acoustical scientists went there and tested in the same exact place, listened to it, did testing, and they confirmed that the shots did indeed come from the grassy knoll and not the schoolbook depository. So here's a little information that kind of tells us that Lee Harvey was obviously not the actual killer of JFK. The first thing is his gun. This gun's bullets were also the ones that were found at the crime scene of where the assassination happened. But the thing that doesn't quite add up is that the gun would have been almost completely impossible to make that kind of shot. He fired 3 shots, 1 missed. The second, which is called the magic bullet, it's honestly kind of a horrible miracle that this bullet did so much damage, which is why it's kind of concerning that he could make that shot. The third bullet that he shot hit Kennedy in the head, which is the one that kind of made his brains just explode. Wow, this is cringy. Experts have tried to recreate the shots that Oswald supposedly made from the schoolbook depository. They couldn't, and they were extremely skilled. This one guy, he couldn't even do it, and he's a professional. He did a lot of stuff with guns, and he still couldn't do it. Now, Oswald did attend Marine Corps basic training, but they don't train you a lot about guns. If this was Sims, the level of skill bar, he'd be at 1. And that's all he'd know about guns. And that shot would be a level 10. I'm sorry, I play a lot of video games. Yeah, so he wasn't that skilled, so the fact that he could make those shots from that far away at that distance, and there was a lot of obstacles in his way, there was a tree, there were people. It's really strange that someone can make that good of a shot from that building. Another thing is that this gun, there's supposedly a picture with Oswald holding the gun, but the photo, I'm just gonna say it's a definite fake. The shadows on it don't align with anything else in the background. It's shadows are going this way and there's a shadow coming down on his nose. It doesn't add up. Tests have been done to confirm this kind of theory, and they have proved that there was definitely something off with the photo. After JFK was shot, By law, they were supposed to take his body to the Dallas hospital, which was the closest hospital. He was supposed to be put there and had the autopsy done there, by law. But the Secret Service stole JFK's body and put it on Air Force One. Luckily, before they took the body, the doctors still got a chance to examine the body a little bit, get a bit of a look at it, and they even took a very important picture. Well, before Air Force One had to take it, they needed to put him in a casket. Aubrey Rye was the only person in the hospital whose job was to put things into a casket. He remembers specifically picking out a bronze ceremonial casket, and JFK was not in a body bag. But later, when JFK arrived in Washington, it was in a pinkish gray casket with a gray body bag inside. How? A document was written by 2 FBI agents saying that surgery to the head area was performed after it left this hospital in Dallas, but before it arrived to the hospital near Washington. I mean, somebody literally took a knife and cut into the president's head. Here's where I'm gonna bring up that photo, like the photos that the doctors got to take before he was taken. In the photo, you can clearly see a bullet hole right here. That bullet hole was actually the entrance wound, not the exit wound, trying to cover up the fact that he was shot from the front. But the question is, how could somebody have done that? I mean, Secret Service was watching the casket the entire time. It was on a plane full of people. I mean, how would somebody have pulled that off? Well, it actually was very possible. Everybody was called up to the front of the plane when President Johnson was being sworn in. So there was a 5-minute time period that nobody was watching the casket at all, meaning that somebody could have come in, done the surgery, and left. So the wound, as you can see in the photo, is like a V shape. Later, actually, some very smart people for once actually decided to go interview the doctors and ask them if they saw anything off. And they all said that the V-shaped cut was not there when it left the hospital. In Dallas, like 5 or 6 doctors that were all incredibly skilled and ready to do the autopsy for JFK. But they decided to take the president to the Washington one and had a man who never had done an autopsy for do it. Why? So this is what the man did. He didn't probe the wounds. He lost Kennedy's brain, which is still missing, and then proceeded to burn his notes when he was done. Why? He also didn't even follow the procedure. Like, he was just doing whatever the heck you wanted to. Excuse me? How do you lose somebody's brain? Exactly. How can you lose somebody's brain? He's that stupid. Why is he a doctor? Why is he doing this? Anyway. So for following the conspiracy, JFK's body was purposely taken from the hospital and put on Air Force One. What we think may have actually happened with this man was that he might have been a part of like this kind of thing. Some people think he may have been paid to like just screw around, helping cover it up basically. But who would do that? Who has the kind of power to do that? Our government. You didn't see that coming. Anyways, a woman named Marita Lorenz, who is a former CIA agent, actually came out when she was testified against by Richard Helms. She said that before the assassination of JFK, that Frank Sturgis came to her and was like, hey, pack your bags, we're going to Dallas. They went to Dallas, they checked into a hotel, and then Howard Hunt was there and he started out handing maps and money to all these people. And she was like, okay, well, I don't want to be part of this, and she just left. He also said that Lee Harvey Oswald was there. I personally kind of think that Lee Harvey had nothing to do with this at all. So the next day, JFK was killed, and he actually came back and literally said, you missed it, we made history, we killed the president. There you have somebody literally saying that they are admitting to killing the president, and they didn't do anything about it. Good job, America. Alright, now we're gonna get into some darker, confusing kind of things. This entire thing is all revolved around by, guess who? George Bush. Here are the people who are involved with this. Howard Hunt, Rita Lorenz, Frank Sturgis, Nixon, and George Bush, the main man. When Howard Hunt was questioned, he gave all different explanations as to where he was. Everyone the day of the assassination could tell you exactly how they heard the news. They can all tell you exactly where they were, what was happening when they found out about the assassination. They should have their story straight and not be all around. Nixon also gave different explanations about to where he was. At first, he said that he was at a red light and a woman ran out screaming that JFK was shot. He's been shot! But the other times, he said that it was a man who ran out. You've been shot, bro! You've been shot! I'm just gonna give you a little background information here. We're gonna get into a little bit of Bay of Pigs, which was an invasion that took place in Cuba. It was led by the CIA. Wow. And it was an attempt to push out Cuba's leader, Castro, from power. But us American people were outnumbered and ended up surrendering within like less than 24 hours. On the news, Nixon told Hunt, hey, don't bring up the whole Bay of Pigs thing. But the Bay of Pigs thing was a code word for JFK assassination because Howard Hunt was part of it, and here we go and get into some stuff. Howard Hunt was paid hush money from Bill Likey, who was Bill Likey's like most close business partner, George Bush. Wow. And he paid Howard Hunt this hush money when he was in jail because he was going to confess to killing the president, so he didn't tell anything else. Okay, this part is a little deep and it might seem kind of out there and hard to understand. George Bush had a cult. It's not necessarily a cult, but it's just a gathering of people doing creepy things, which is basically a cult. It was called the Skull and Bones, and the people included in it were Prescott Bush, George Herbert Bush, George Herbert Walker, and many more. It wasn't that big. It didn't have an extremely enormous amount of group members. It was maybe 10, 12. So Skull and Bones is actually not a very significant piece of evidence supporting this conspiracy, but it is something kind of creepy to think about. So Bush had like a company. This company was actually used to transport weapons and machinery for the CIA operations, like Operation 40, Operation Mongoose, Alpha 66. All those things were supplied by George Bush's ship, which was called the Barbara. George Bush's wife was called Barbara. Oh, so what? His wife's name is Barbara and the ship's name is Barbara. What's the big deal? The big deal is, in World War II, one of his planes that he flew was called the Barbara II. And after that one crashed, then he got Barbara III. So where was Barbara I? It was the cargo ship supplying the CIA and their medieval operations and stuff like that. Howard Hunt worked with George Bush in the CIA, so like a while back Bush had sworn in that he was not part of the CIA yet, but there were documents found stating that he was indeed in the CIA when he said that he wasn't. When Bush was sworn into the CIA, it was January 30th, 1976. Kennedy was shot on November 22nd, 1963. So that's like a 11-year... Oh, look. Low, just like my grade in math. 13 years. Oh. I should really pay attention in class. A 13-year difference. So basically what I'm trying to point out here is that he was liable to have started something in the CIA during the time of the assassination because he was part of it when he said he wasn't. Here's another pretty interesting thing. The man who gave Lee Harvey Oswald his job was part of the CIA and he was just following orders. The man who gave Lee Harvey Oswald his job at the school book depository was George de Mohrenschildt. I'm so sorry if I said that wrong. He was part of the CIA, wasn't in on the assassination of the president, but was just following orders to make sure that Lee Harvey Oswald did get a job at the school book depository. Probably to make it look more like he was the one who killed him if he worked in the building and had access to the room. After the assassination, he was to be questioned, but before he could, he blew off his own head with a shotgun. Some conspiracists believe that he was not committing suicide and that somebody else killed him, made it look like a suicide. I mean, he could have told the police that Oswald didn't kill him. that this was a CIA thing, you know? So when Oswald died, he was being transported from the jail in Dallas to a more secure jail, which ironically being transferred to the safe place was very unsafe, and he was shot by a man named Jack Ruby. So some people think that he may have been part of the CIA, that he wanted to kill him before he could tell the truth. So when Oswald was dead, the FBI spent an unusually long amount of time with his body. That exact night was the night that they decided to come out saying that Lee Harvey Oswald's fingerprints were on the murder gun. So what people believe is that they actually put the fingerprints on the gun. Now, the gun may have not actually have been Oswald's because the picture was obviously fake. It wasn't even delivered to his house. It was delivered to a P.O. box, so literally anyone could have ordered it. So it may not have actually been his gun, you know? It could have been his gun, but somebody could have stolen the gun. Quick recap, Lee Harvey Oswald did not kill the president. We don't really know who it was. We think that George was probably the main man who organized the operation, and that most likely it was Frank Sturgis and Howard Hunt, because they did admit that they did kill the president to Marita Lorenz. But we will never know for sure because the dumb doctor who did the autopsy lost literally all the evidence to be used. Hopefully that gives you a better understanding of what exactly went on during this. But again, this is just a conspiracy. This year they should be releasing some documents, so I guess we'll have to check in on it. Thank you for watching, and see you never again, because I hated this. Alright, thank you, and bye. Hey, what's up you guys? Here we're gonna be talking about that JFK Conspiracy theory. Just like gives up, gets an F, it'll be fine. First thing is his gun. Train you a lot about that was a law in Texas. Come on y'all, we need to go. And then like his wife was like, no. Okay, I'm gonna not put that in there. Hey Mom! Don't make noise! Why? Because I'm recording my video. Oh. So no speak. No noise. Take off them heels. Out of his head or whatever. So, wait, that'd be on this side. That's, wow, I'm doing good here. You're welcome. I can just see like my friends trying to help me edit this, and they just see this. And they're like, oh, so that's what you do in your life. Yep. Transfer. What is going on here? Oh well. How do you lose somebody's brain? That'd be the funny part. Excuse me. A woman named Marita Lorenz is actually fight against by Frank Sturgis. She came out saying, oh my god, I hate my life. Sturgis came to her apartment and was like, hey. And he said, you knew, I forgot his name. Castro, Barbara, and
oh my god.
John F. Kennedy did not kill the president. Lee, you're laughing with a stuffed animal in my background. So, thank you for watching, and excuse me, you didn't get bored? You know what, I'm just gonna do what Gabby does. I still don't have an outro. Bye. Wait. Now, Mr. Johnson, give me an A.